So we're learning Igeres HaKodesh. We'll finish chapter 11, which is, as I said the entire week, a very known Igeres in the world of Chabad, which deals with the idea of overcoming challenges. They're non-stop. They don't stop. Just yesterday, I was sitting here on my couch and thinking about different things, and a friend of mine from Eretz Yisrael, Tel Aviv, calls me and he shares the news that another friend of ours was diagnosed with an illness. And I know this friend from childhood, and he doesn't have an impure bone in him. He's like born and raised in holiness. And he didn't drink, he didn't smoke, he didn't do, it's like as straight as you could get. But this is life, my friends. This is life. This is the Eibishter. And, I'm thinking about this the whole time. What does the Eibishter want? What does he want? So when you learn a little Kabbalah, a little Kisvi Arizal, or you see it brought in Chassidus and you learn it in the different Chassidic Sfarim, about the Gilgul HaNeshama, I find that to be very therapeutic. And it really helps with Emunah in HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Because according to the teachings of Kabbalah and the Arizal, that every neshama has been here and every neshama is back to rectify something, to be mashlim, to complete. So when that job is over, you've done what you need to and you don't need to stay here anymore. Now, the thing is, we don't know when that job is over, but whenever Hashem says it's over, it's over. That's one thought. The other thought is, as the Alter Rebbe says in chapter 26 in the first section of Tanya, and again over here, we're going to learn it today in the Igeres HaKodesh Yud Aleph, that what's perceived as no good comes from a higher place. And Alter Rebbe will teach us today that if we have emunah in this, and it's not easy to have emunah in this, emunah you don't buy at Sears or Roebuck, or for those that don't know, you don't buy it in a makolet. You don't buy it in a grocery store. You have to work on emunah. You have to really work on an emunah. You have to think about it. You have to understand it. And then you have to live with it. And this is a life's avodah. A life's avodah. The story that I told you when we were learning chapter 26 of a certain great Rav in Europe, I forget now the name, maybe one of you will remember. He was also in the log business. It used to be that you sent down lumber down the river in Russia and Poland and in Europe, and that was a big business because ultimately it built houses and different things. If there was a shetef means like a hurricane or torrential rains like you had in Eretz Yisrael, the night, Rahman Litzlan, of the Kfura, of the HaKodesh, Tzvi Kogan. Right? What happens is, in Yiddish we say the word farflatzt. It overwhelms, it's not the right translation, but it overwhelms the normal path of the logs going down the river to get to its place. And you lose it. So this Rav Rosh Hashiva was giving a shir, and the students came to me and said, Rabbi, we have something to share with you. He says, you just taught us the Gemara, Kashem shemevorach al hatov kach mevorach al hara. Just as you're supposed to make a bracha when something good happens, hatov u'meitiv, so when something that's perceived bad, ra, happens, you also make a bracha, baruch daino emes. And we do this when someone, Rahman Litzlan, loses a relative, baruch daino emes. And we say Baruch Daino Emes, bless Hashem, the true judge, the true king, and all that. So, and they say, the students say to him, we don't understand the Gemara exactly, this way, that way, blah, 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 blah. And he says, what do you mean you don't understand? And he says, emunah and faith, and then he darshans, and he expounds, and he explains, and it's like he's shocked that the Talmidim, the students, don't get it. They're not relating to it. And then one of them says to him, and Rabbi, do you know that your logs that were going down last night, there was a torrential rain, and you lost them all? When he heard that, he fainted and collapsed. Emunah, Gemara, Rosh Hashiva. When it becomes personal, why are you collapsing? Why are you fainting? You should say, Kishem Shemu Baruch Al Toiv, Kach Mevarach Al Ra, and you should be dancing for Simcha. No. Avram, you understand? When it becomes personal, it's like, where is the Emunah? They say over Reb Mendel Futterfast, the known Lubavitcher, Mashpia, and Chassid of the last generation, who sat for 9 years in jail and in various camps in Siberia and all that. Before he came to his son, finally in 1963 or 64 in England, in London, or while he came, his daughter, he had 2 children. He had others that didn't survive in Europe and Russia. He had two, a boy and a girl that survived. His daughter was, I think, Basheva. His son, Baruch Hashem, he's alive, he lives in Crown Heights. He's an 87, 88-year-old man. Beryl is his son. Anyway, this daughter had a car accident and she died. And Reb Mendel walked behind the casket, so this is when he already came. And he's saying to himself, like out loud, and others who are walking around, they heard him. He says, Vu is the Laskil Chabina, this chapter. Where is the Laskil Chabina? In other words, where am I? In other words, he lost his daughter, a mother of young children, 7 children, 8 children, whatever, And it's all good and fine. And this is a Jew who sat 9 years, who could have been killed and put away so many times. And yet, what does he feel when he's in a free country in London, when he loses his own daughter? How personal it is. You can't get any more personal. He says to himself, where am I with Laskil Chabina? In other words, I learned Laskil Chabina. I lived with Laskil Chabina those years in Russia under communism and everything else. And here, when it hits home so personal, I'm sad. And you have to be sad. You have to mourn. But he's looking introspectively. You understand? So when we talk about Emunah in this parak and other prakim, but especially here, it's not just words. It's not just words. It's an avodah. And if anything, Chabad Chassidus in general, the Baal Shem Tov, Teres Baal Shem Tov, and especially Chabad Chassidus, emphasizes this. I have Emunah, but I have Emunah. You have Emunah till, it's an expression in Yiddish, biz the pupik. You know the pupik means? The belly button. You have Emunah till your pupik. Once it hits your pupik, everything goes out the door. It doesn't mean you stop putting on tefillin. It doesn't mean you take off your yarmulke. That's not what it means. But in your heart of hearts, where are you? You understand? And this is a shvera avodah. It's a difficult avodah, but it can be done. And that's when we learn a chapter like this. We need to have the reka, the background, and understand that this is the objective, to build us in a positive way, to give us more emunah, to build our ability to overcome the most difficult situation. Hayali see, we should never have that experience. But the fact is, that's life. That's life. One person can live to 75, and the other person to 100, another person to 40. Go understand. Why? Who knows? But whatever it is, take it in the best way. So the Alter Rebbe, now let's go to the text so we can finish it today. We're on page 232. I'm sorry, top of page Kuf Yud Zayin. The third line, V'yamin. Let's learn inside. V'yamin, a person should believe, shebe'emes, hu chai bahem. A person lives with the situation at hand, whatever that may be. V'chol tzerachav, in all of his needs. V'chol inyonav, in all of his things. Mishtalshelim be'emes. They truly come from Biprote proteseyem, in detail of details, sheloi misitra achre. He brought the Gemara before, Velvel, he brought the Gemara before, Noach le'odam shelo nivra. There's a machlekes in the Gemara. Is it better that God created man? Or is it better that God should have not created man because of all the issues that man brings to the table? Of course, it's the Gemara, it's Noach Shel. But the opinion, what does it mean, Noach Shelo Nivra? So the Alter Rebbe explained that you might think that the reason why God created man is because of man's pursuit of Gashmias. And to that, the Gemara is saying, Lo Nivra. God will not create you if the end all is Gashmias. And we're not talking about chumriyas, indulgences and taivas, just basics. Of course, Hashem knows that you need to have food to eat and a bed to sleep. But if that becomes, I'm going to use the word, Yaini, the lifestyle, talking about Thanksgiving, Stam. I made a little clip about the Rebbe spoke about Thanksgiving without saying those English words in 1986 on Yutes Kislev. And the Rebbe didn't say you're not allowed to celebrate Thanksgiving. He didn't say that. He didn't say you should celebrate it either. He learned a lesson from what it's about, to give thanks. What are we giving thanks for? To eat more turkey. That's what you're giving thanks for. You're giving thanks for freedom. For freedom. And to buy freedom is not easy, to have freedom. Whether it was in our country, with the Indians, and finally the Pilgrims, we had the freedom, or whether it's the freedom that in Russia that we didn't have, and then we got some, And now in Eretz Yisrael, look at this. Countries, Netanyahu speaks the other day from 7 countries all around. Freedom. Let us live. What do we want? All we want is just to live in Eretz Yisrael and serve Hashem and do good things. And you guys will be also in a good shape if you just stop with your harassing and killing and all that. A little freedom. And look how much we have to pay for this freedom. So the Alter Rebbe says that the truth is that the reason why Hashem created a person is because Ruchnius is the objective. Spirituality. Godliness is the objective. And for that reason, Noach le'odam shenivra be'olam. It is pleasant that man was created because man will bring this spirituality into a situation where it's secular. So when you walk around with a yarmulke, whether it be in the hospital or whether it be wherever you are, that itself, the Rebbe once spoke about the shluchim, the bochurim that go on the Merkei Shlichus, the Jewish Marine Corps kind of, and they don't find anyone to put on tefillin. And they don't find anyone to sell a Jewish book or to put a mezuzah. And the bocher, the 2 guys, they wrote to the Rebbe, this is back in the 50s, like, why did we waste our time? We could have either sat in 770 and learned, or gone out to the Catskills and meet other frum Jews and learn with them Tanya, Hasidus, and Farbrenk. And meanwhile, you send us to Missouri, to Wyoming, to wherever, to Timbuktu. And we're walking around, and the Rebbe said a story at the time. Someone was looking out the window, and she reminded herself she was a Jew, and it was that day that she was going to convert with the priest because no one so she can have a burial. And when she saw the two Bacharim, it stopped her because she reminded herself she's a Jew. No. So the Alter Rebbe says that this is the idea. That's what he says. Let's go back to the text. That a person must know that Kol Tzarachav, V'Kol Inyanov, they're mishtalshel in detail, and not just in detail. Beprote protoseihem, in detail within details. Shalei mesitra acher. They don't come from sitra acher. Rather, Kimi Hashem mitzadi gover koinenu. It is Hashem who prepares the way of man. Everything is prepared by Hashem for us. We don't know that, and we have bchira chavshis, free will. Ve'ein Mila is quoting a pasuk in Tehillim, and there is no word that comes beside except for if Hashem says it. So everything's from God. V'im kain, hakol toiv betachlis. Everything that happens to a person is good. And betachlis, absolute good, not just good. It's the ultimate of good. However, she'ein musik. We don't understand. What else is new? We don't understand. How can October 7th be good? Don't understand. Says the Alter Rebbe v'emunazu. It's with this emunah that we've just been discussing in this Igeres HaKodesh Yud Aleph. Be'emes. This emunah itself will propel that in truth, Nase hakol toiv. You hear that? What we perceive as no good, if we stick with the emunah and we apply the emunah, look what he says here, you sir, Nase hakol toiv. Everything will become good in a revealed way. That's what it says. And this is kind of, it's like, is it an abracadabra? What? If I have the strong emunah, all of a sudden, what is perceived bad will become good. Yes, Hillel.
Two questions. Back up where we said, "V'kol tzarachav v'kol yinav mishtalshim be'emes beprate pratesehem." I got that.
Shalom, but you have but you have to read the next two words.
That's what I'm getting to. Shalom mishitraka. I don't understand what that, where that comes from. That particular phrase.
No. That all details in a man's life are not coming from the negative side. It's a continuation. It's a continuation of what he said in the last 5-6 lines. So if you go back and refresh yourself, you'll see the connection.
And the second question was, Ki mi Hashem mitzadei geber konenu. That so here in the lessons of Tanya, he translates the word konenu as made firm, and there's a long note on it. I thought that word meant like forming or created, something of that nature. Can you explain the translation?
Well, it doesn't mean literally what you said. It means kainenu, he's erected. But the context of which fits with what you said earlier. But there is a literal translation. Mashem mitzadi gover kaidenu, which means like erected. What's the word that they use in the English time in the lessons?
Made firm.
Made firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Erected. I
Right.
got it. Okay.
Okay. Good. Uve'emuna zu be'emes nasa kol toiv. Gam b'golui. Yaini. Not only will it become good in my bedroom, where it's no one sees, begolui. It'll become good in a revealed way. This emunah, that he believes that the apparent right? Look at the word nidma, shahara had-nidba. What appears to be bad, ra, begolui kol chayu, right? In the open, it seems to be bad. Not a good situation. One uses the emunah to realize that kol chayusoi, hu mitoyev elyoim, its entire vitality, its entire chayis, is from the supernal good, toyev elyoim, shehi chochmasa yizborich, which is the chochmah of Hashem, she'eina museges, as we discussed earlier in the chapter, the geometric flash, the chochmah, which is incomprehensible. V'hi ha'Eden, and this is the level we call Gan Eden, but the Eden, the level of Eden, which is the light, Shelamayla mi'olam haba, we discussed that yesterday, which is even greater than the world to come, because the world to come is a definition. You do this, you get this. You don't do this, you don't get this. How much did you do that's good? You get this upon, right? That's olam haba. It's a portion. It's a limitation. Eden is higher than that. Eden doesn't have that limitation. That's what it says in Chassidus and Kabbalah. So the Alter Rebbe says that when a person uses their emunah, and that emunah is so strong that in the face of what seems to be negative and bad and all that, and he lives with the emunah will convert, will transform, better said, will transform the situation in a revealed way. That's what it says here. With this emunah, he will be incorporated and elevated truthfully. What will be incorporated and elevated? The Ra Hamaduma. He always says Hamaduma. Nidme Hamaduma. Right? Alter Rebbe, if you look through this chapter, he never acknowledges that it's real Ra. It's apparent Ra. It's imaginary Ra. I mean, that's what he says. Otherwise, why does he say the word meduma or nidma? So what appears to be Ra will be incorporated and elevated b'toiva elyon agonus in the higher hidden good. Now, when we learned this, you like yesterday, Isser, I think, asked, so in this world, when there is a loss, whatever that loss is, or when something happens that is it bad or good? So the Alter Rebbe is saying, this is why you need to learn the Chassidus and think about it and inculcate it in your life. That the emes of the truth of the truth is, it's all good. It appears to be bad. The press will say it's bad. The popular vote will say it's bad. But if Torah says and Hashem says this is the way it is, it's all good. Now, how do you know? How do you know if it's because Hashem is all good? Ein ra, I quoted, Ein ra yored milmaylo. There's no bad that comes from heaven. So it's a test, a challenge, a gilgul. You understand? So whatever explanation works for you, use. But in other words, no one can tell you unless the person is tzaddik. They see you in the shama, they see what's going on inside. But who can tell you this happened because of this? This happened. That's why this whole idea, Manas Friedman spoke about it the other day. But it's common, those that say, "Oh, I know why this happened. This happened because of A, B, and C." It's not. What are you, tzaddik? What you know is that you have to live with emunah, and regardless of what took place, overcome and go on. Yeah, that you know. But this October 7th happened. Why? Because there was a Nova festival on Shmini Atzeres, which is against halacha. You know that a Jew should keep Shmini Atzeres. That you know, because the Torah says so. But when you put the two together, and therefore, since they didn't, it angered God to the point where they brought it. You don't know. Now, a prophet in the Tanakh, when Hashem inspires a prophet and tells them that I'm telling you that this is and this is the reason, so you're going on God's shoulders. But who is in that position to say that we know why this happened? We don't know. So rather than going on this trajectory of putting the blame game, don't use the blame game. The only blame game is on yourself, and even there, have mercy on yourself. Even there, self-deprecation, as the Chofetz Chaim writes in Shmiras HaLoshen, is Lashon Hara, but it's about myself. Oh, since when are you not a product of God? So when you self-deprecation, when you put yourself down and you hurt yourself and all that, ostensibly you're hurting God because He made you and He wants you. Says the Chofetz Chaim, that's also Lashon Hara. But if anything, you want to point fingers at yourself. That's all. Point fingers at yourself, rather than anything else. And again, in our communities, many times it's easier to just point the finger. The Alter Rebbe, if you learn chapter 30, if you remind yourself, he talks about those people sitting on the corners and facing the taivas, the indulgences, right? Alter Rebbe, he says, and you're this big shot, you're in the yeshiva hall, in the kollel, big deal. They have to go out to work to 47th Street and to Manhattan and to Broadway and to here and there and Tel Aviv. What do you want? You're sitting in a kollel, big deal. You're shunned from the world. Of course you don't see what you're not supposed to see. I want to see you go out there and still put tefillin on. I don't want to see you go out there and wear your tzitzis. And then you could talk. So all of this is an extension of the idea that the emunah is what we need to live with and always focus on yourself in the sense of if there's criticism and if there's issues. But even that, the Alter Rebbe here doesn't even take that approach. His approach is live with the emunah to be'emes. You notice that over here, he doesn't say so much emunah tahira. He says emunah amitis, emunah be'emes. He's emphasizing the emes. In other words, be a emes a yid. Be a Jew of truth. Don't fool yourself. And this is very important because, especially in learning and in davening, Avodas Hashem, and this was a key foundational approach in Chabad, was to be emes. Chevra, we will continue with Hashem on Monday. Everyone have a great Shabbos Uvarach and Kislev. And if you do have your turkey, make a bracha, eat it l'shma. Don't need the gravy and the strawberry and the jelly and the stuffings. Eat it l'shma. I'd like to see people eating turkey l'shma. That's my campaign this year. Eat your turkey, but eat it l'shma. Have a good Shabbos. Take care.
It's another thing.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.